When someone leaves you, it feels like the world goes quiet. Like the silence they leave behind is louder than anything they ever said. But here's the truth. The moment he walked away was also the moment your power started growing. This isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about transformation. Not for him, but for you. And ironically, that's exactly what will pull him back. Silence isn't a sign of weakness. It's a display of strength and clarity. When someone walks away from you, the instinct may be to chase, to seek answers, or to hold on tighter. But in doing so, you continue to give your power away. Reaching out repeatedly sends the message that your value is tied to their validation. Instead, choosing not to text, call, or check in breaks that pattern entirely. It's a quiet way of saying, I don't need to convince you to stay. When you go silent, you create a noticeable shift in the dynamic. When you go silent, you create a noticeable shift in the dynamic. You're no longer feeding the connection or giving them access to your emotions. This absence doesn't go unnoticed. It creates space for reflection. While you're focused on yourself, the person who left begins to feel a void, a subtle discomfort that only grows when you're no longer available to them like before. That silence becomes louder than any message you could have sent. In this space, curiosity starts to creep in. He may start to wonder why you're not reacting, why you're not reaching out, and whether you've moved on. That curiosity can be more impactful than any emotional plea. It disrupts the expectation that you'll always be there, ready to respond. And when that expectation is broken, it often triggers a reevaluation of what he lost. What's most powerful about stepping back is not just the effect it has on him, but the transformation it allows in you. You're no longer stuck in a cycle of reaction. You're grounded, calm, and focused inward. It's in this silence that you reclaim your self-worth. And as you detach, you start to see more clearly, not only what you deserve, but whether he ever truly gave it to you. This is the time to shift your focus entirely back to yourself. After a breakup, it's easy to become consumed by thoughts of the other person, what they're doing, whether they miss you, or if they'll come back. But the real transformation happens when you take all that energy and pour it into becoming the best version of yourself. Not to prove anything to anyone, but to remind yourself of your own worth and potential. This phase is not about revenge or winning someone back. It's about you rising above the pain. Start by nurturing your emotional well-being. Reflect on what you learned from the relationship, but don't dwell on regrets. Let yourself process your emotions fully, then begin to rebuild from the inside out. Choose activities that make you feel powerful, alive, and inspired. Whether it's returning to hobbies, trying something new, or setting personal goals, these actions signal to yourself and the world that your story is still being written, beautifully and independently. Your physical glow-up matters too, not because appearance is everything, but because it boosts your confidence and shifts your energy. When you feel good in your body, it radiates into every area of your life. Small changes like upgrading your wardrobe, improving your posture, or committing to a healthier lifestyle can make a big impact. These aren't superficial changes. They're symbols of self-respect. They show that you're prioritizing your happiness, not waiting around for someone to validate it. As you thrive in your own lane, others will begin to notice, including him. But by that time, the need for him to notice may no longer matter. That's the real power of focusing on your glow-up. You attract not by seeking attention, but by becoming someone who's too fulfilled and self-aware to settle for anything less than what you truly deserve. When someone leaves, it may initially feel like rejection, but it can actually be the perfect moment to reset your standards. So the perfect moment to reset your stand. The relationship, no matter how deep or meaningful it seemed, revealed what you were willing to tolerate, both the good and the not so good. Now that he's gone, you have a powerful opportunity to pause and ask yourself what you really want moving forward. This isn't just about relationships, but about how you allow yourself to be treated in every part of your life. Think back to what you accepted that made you uncomfortable or drained your energy. Maybe you ignored red flags, overcompromised, or settled for less affection and commitment than you truly desired. Use that clarity not to dwell on past mistakes, but to define new rules for your future. What are your non-negotiables? What kind of love do you deserve? Once you get clear on that, you naturally stop entertaining anything or anyone that doesn't align with it. Raising your standards doesn't mean building walls or pushing people away. It means creating boundaries that protect your peace and self-respect. It's about saying no to behaviors that hurt, disrespect, or minimize you. This shift isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet, steady, and powerful. And the people around you, including the one who walked away, will feel that difference. They may not say it, but your energy will tell them everything they need to know. The beautiful thing about high standards is that they attract better. When you start honoring your worth, you draw in people who see it clearly too. And, ironically, the one who left may begin to feel the weight of their absence more intensely, not because you tried to get them back, but because you stopped accepting anything less than you deserve. That's when regret begins to stir and respect begins to return. It's natural after someone leaves to question your worth. You replay the moments, search for clues, and start to believe that if only you were more of something or less of something else, he would have stayed. But this thinking traps you in a story that makes you the problem and him the prize. The truth is, he didn't walk away because you weren't good enough. He left because, for whatever reason, he wasn't ready to meet you at the level you were offering. The reason he left means nothing. The level he was at, the level something, he wouldn't have been honest enough. He would have stayed for you because he felt you could be here. Because he felt you could be here. Because you have the skills and the talents he wanted you to have. And without the skill set, you can't do the job. He can't be a priest. He wasn't raised correct. That has nothing to do with your value. Sometimes people leave not because they don't care, but because they're overwhelmed by what real love requires. Maybe it was emotional maturity, commitment, consistency, or simply the courage to grow alongside someone. You might have been showing up fully, offering depth, stability, and heart, but if he wasn't capable or ready to receive that, he couldn't stay. This doesn't reflect your failure. It reflects the gap between what you were ready for and what he could handle. Instead of clinging to a story where you were abandoned or not chosen, begin rewriting it. Start seeing the situation through a new lens. He had a chance to have something meaningful, and he walked away from it. That's a loss, not yours, but his. This shift in narrative isn't denial, it's empowerment. It gives you back control of the way you view yourself and your role in the relationship. You're no longer someone who got left behind. You're someone who offered something rare that wasn't recognized. When you start seeing things this way, everything changes. Your confidence returns, not from ego, but from truth. You stop chasing closure or validation because you already have what matters: clarity, deep. And from that clarity, you move forward with strength, not shame. That's when the healing begins, and that's also when the person who left often starts to feel the true weight of what they gave up. After a breakup, it can be tempting to disappear from the world, to isolate yourself, keep a low profile, and retreat into sadness. But doing that only reinforces the idea that your happiness was dependent on him. Instead of shrinking, choose to be seen. Step out, even when it's uncomfortable. This doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect, but it does mean refusing to let your life pause just because someone else walked away. The more you show up for life, the more alive you begin to feel again. Being seen isn't about showing off or seeking attention. It's about reclaiming your space in the world. Whether it's sharing moments on social media, starting a new project, spending time with friends, or simply doing things that light you up, let yourself be visible in your joy. These actions send a powerful message to both yourself and others. You are still growing, still thriving, still whole. And that kind of energy is deeply attractive, not just to others, but to your own future. When he sees you smiling again, doing well, and not defined by the breakup, something inside him will shift. He expected you to fall apart, to wait, to miss him out loud. But instead, you're choosing to rise. You're not broadcasting pain, you're radiating strength. That contrast between what he thought and what actually is creates a sense of loss in him. While he's living the same life, you're moving forward. And that difference will echo in his mind more than any words ever could. Most importantly, showing up for life gives you new experiences and new connections. You start to find fulfillment in places that have nothing to do with the past. And somewhere along the way, you realize you're not living to make him regret leaving. You're living because your life is still rich with possibility. That realization is what makes your presence powerful. And sometimes, the most unforgettable version of you is the one who kept going. After a breakup, isolation can seem like the easiest option. You might feel like no one understands what you're going through, or that being alone is the only way to deal with the pain. But the truth is, staying connected to the people who care about you is one of the most powerful ways to heal. Your friends and family know your worth, even when you temporarily forget it. Being around them helps you remember who you are outside of the relationship. When you're surrounded by supportive people, you begin to laugh again, feel understood, and see yourself through their eyes. Their love and encouragement creates a safe space where you can process your emotions without feeling judged or broken. This kind of support isn't just comforting, it actively rebuilds your confidence. Every meaningful conversation and genuine moment with someone who truly sees you reminds you that you are not alone and that your identity is far greater than just one relationship. Another powerful shift happens during this time. You become less emotionally available to the one who left. When your heart and energy are focused on nourishing connections, you don't have the same need to seek closure or reach out. That distance speaks volumes. He will begin to sense that you're not sitting by the phone anymore. You're moving forward, investing in people who actually show up. That absence of your emotional attention is often more noticeable than anything you could say directly. As your inner circle lifts you, you begin to walk differently, talk differently, and think more clearly. Their energy helps you rise above the self-doubt and loneliness. And eventually, you'll come to realize that the love you thought you lost is still around you. It just looks different now. And maybe, just maybe, the support you received during this time is what helps you see that you never needed someone who chose to walk away. It's easy to get caught in a loop of remembering only the sweet moments, the laughter, the times when everything felt right. Your mind clings to those memories because they offer comfort and familiarity, especially when you're feeling vulnerable. But focusing only on the highlights is dangerous. It creates a fantasy version of the relationship that blocks your healing. You begin to long for something that wasn't real in its entirety, something filtered and edited by emotion and time. To truly move forward, you have to be honest with yourself about why things ended. Maybe there were unmet needs, repeated disappointments, or a lack of emotional safety. These things mattered then, and they still matter now. By reminding yourself of the full truth, not just the good parts, you start to see the situation for what it was. This clarity is what breaks the illusion that he was perfect or that the relationship was flawless. When you stop romanticizing him, you reclaim your sense of balance. You realize he had flaws, just like anyone else, and that the connection, while meaningful, wasn't everything you needed. This shift in perspective takes away the emotional grip he had on you. The more grounded you become in reality, the more detached you feel from that idealized version of him. And that detachment is freedom. Ironically, once you stop putting him on a pedestal, something changes in the energy between you. You become less emotionally reactive, more self-assured, and harder to read. That's when you start becoming the one who's hard to forget. Not because you're playing games, but because you've stopped seeing him through the lens of fantasy and started seeing yourself through the lens of truth. After a breakup, it's natural to want the other person to know how much you're hurting or how deeply you still care. But oversharing, especially when it's uninvited, often pushes people further away. When you constantly update him about your feelings, your life, or your pain, you remove the mystery. You give him the comfort of knowing exactly where you stand, which means he feels no urgency to figure anything out on his own. The more predictable your response is, the less he needs to wonder. Silence, on the other hand, speaks volumes. Silence, on the other hand, speaks volume. When you stop explaining yourself, stop checking in, and stop broadcasting your emotions, you create a space he wasn't expecting. That space forces him to wonder what you're thinking, where your heart is, and whether or not you're still waiting. Curiosity creates emotional tension, and that tension is often what pulls someone back, not because you played games, but because you broke the pattern he had become used to. Being mysterious doesn't mean being cold or manipulative. It means holding your power quietly. You're not being distant to punish him. You're simply choosing not to reveal every part of your inner world to someone who walked away from it. That boundary protects your energy while making it clear that your emotional world isn't a place he can just come and go from. The less he knows, the more he'll want to know, especially if he starts to suspect that your focus is shifting somewhere else. Over time, this silence and self-control can be far more impactful than any emotional outpouring. He'll start to notice your absence not just physically, but emotionally. And as curiosity grows into a deeper sense of missing you, he may begin to regret the way he left. That's the power of mystery. When someone no longer has easy access to your heart, they realize just how valuable it was. The environment you live in plays a huge role in shaping how you feel day to day. When you're going through heartbreak, it's easy to let your surroundings reflect your emotional state. Messy rooms, neglected spaces, reminders of the past scattered everywhere. But staying in that same environment keeps you mentally and emotionally stuck. If you want to shift your mindset, you need to start with what's right in front of you. Small physical changes can have a big emotional impact. Start by cleaning and decluttering your space. Remove anything that brings up memories you're trying to move past. Let go of items that are tied to the relationship, even if it's just putting them out of sight for now. Then rearrange your space in a way that feels new, fresh, and reflective of who you're becoming. This isn't about escaping the past. It's about creating a physical space that matches your decision to move forward. Even little changes like getting a new bedsheet, hanging up a new picture, or changing the lighting can lift your mood. Go further if you feel ready. Maybe a haircut, a different style of clothing, or curating your social media to follow people who inspire rather than drain you. All these shifts send a powerful signal to your mind. Things are changing, and you are no longer frozen in that old emotional chapter. It's a quiet, powerful way of taking control. When you upgrade your environment, you're not just refreshing your space, you're resetting your identity. You're reminding yourself daily that you're choosing to heal, to grow, and to step into something new. And when someone sees you again, they won't just notice the change in your surroundings, they'll feel the shift in your energy. You'll be walking proof that you're not stuck in the past anymore. And that kind of transformation is hard to ignore. At the start, all you may want is for him to come back. That desire can feel overwhelming, like nothing else will make things right again. But as you begin to focus on yourself, grow, and truly heal, something unexpected happens. The person you once couldn't imagine living without starts to feel less essential to your happiness. The longing fades a little each day as your sense of self returns. You begin to see things more clearly without the fog of emotion clouding your judgment. With time, you might realize that the version of him you miss isn't even the one who left. It's the version you hoped he would become. That's when it hits you. Your attachment was more about potential than reality. You start to see that your needs, your values, and your future may no longer align with who he is or how he treated you. You start to see that your needs, your values, and your future may no longer align with who he is or how he treated you. What once felt like love now feels more like a lesson. And that lesson gives you the strength to move forward without needing anything from the past to validate you. When someone finally senses they're losing the place they once held in your heart, they often return. But by then, you're not the same person they left behind. The dynamic has shifted. You're no longer reaching out, waiting, or hoping. You're standing firmly in your truth, knowing that you don't have to settle for breadcrumbs when you deserve a full meal. And that power, quiet, calm, and unshakable, is undeniable. It speaks louder than any words. So if he does come back, the question won't be whether he wants you, it'll be whether you still want him. And that's the true plot twist. The version of you that begged for his love has evolved into someone who doesn't chase what walked away, not out of bitterness, but because you finally remembered your own worth. That's when you hold all the power. And that's when he'll realize what he lost.